Next up, we are joined by Ross Chastain, driver of the number 1 Busch Light Peach Chevrolet. Please raise your hand if you have any questions, and we have wireless mics coming for you. Who would like to kick us off? Bob Pockris.
Bob Hockers, Fox Sports. If NASCAR did not penalize Austin Dillon, would you be willing to do what he did to make the playoffs?
First off, I want you to always be introduced as Bob Pockris from now on. So that was great. I don't know. I think it's a case by case. I never thought I would drive into the wall in 5th gear at Martinsville until I did it. And I think that no one knows what's going through Austin's head for that scenario. So I don't know. I don't have a predetermined decision on what I'm going to do. It's just racing at the end of these races.
Dustin
Ovino, J-Ski Ross, with how tight the bubble is, how are you approaching the next 3 races, and how do you feel like they set up for the one team?
Hopefully just going faster. You look at Chris and I, and we're tied in points. It's the same average, or the same average finishing position. Although I don't feel like, it's funny, I don't feel like we've raced around each other a ton. I don't look at anything other than trying to go fast. So coming out of the break, obviously to go to Richmond and run up inside the top 10, drive up there from the low 20s into the low just 11th-ish, and then to race and we were gonna finish 7th. That's better than we have been for several months. So that's the only thing we're focused on, executing. I missed pit road at Richmond on stage 2, the second green flag stop. That cost us spots that we were ahead of the 3 at the time, and I came out several seconds behind him, the 23, and somebody else, and I never passed him again. So minimizing those kind of mistakes, obviously it's a lot bigger penalty here if you miss pit road, or if you speed, is more often going to be the case here. For Richmond, I just couldn't even turn down and get. I don't even think I could have hit the orange box, let alone get below it. So, that's the only goal is for the one team and Trackhouse is to just go faster. That's going to solve a lot of our problems.
Your COTA win was hard racing contact, and now people are saying, well, wait a minute, is the line murkier now? Like, are you confident, even after this decision, that what happened at COTA would be, allowable and viewed as okay to win a race? Or are you concerned now that, if I'm in that situation again and I make contact, I might get it taken from me? You know what I'm saying? Do you know where the line is?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I feel like COTA was fine. I had gotten moved. I had covered the bottom in 16, and AJ moved me off of that line. I think the biggest mistake there was he didn't move me far enough. He didn't move me off into the rocks and into the tires, so he gave me a chance to move him back. And if, in my opinion, if the 48's not there, the 16 just goes wide in 19, and he's a couple car lengths back coming to the checkered, and we run 1-2, or he finishes third, maybe with the 48 crossed him over. So, I feel like that they look at all of that, and you heard Brad say it. I think we're not in those meetings. We're not the ones deciding, but they're human, and NASCAR they're a bunch of humans making decisions, and they're looking at the total body of work.
Jerry
Jordan kicking the tires on that. I don't think you've had any beefs with Joey too much that I've seen from just quick searches, but obviously you and Denny have had issues in the past. But this system that is set up, it has rewarded this type of activity, whether Joey's was egregious and Denny's was egregious or not. But this was rough driving as part of this system to make the playoffs. You'll do whatever. How do you fix that? And is it fixed with this? Jeff said this line supposedly.
Yeah, and I think it's good to remember that the line's not written down. There's no words. There's no pictures and like drawings of a line. For some to say that it's clear is, I don't. It's a total body of work. It's a culmination of decisions that we all make, and we all are watching each other and watching, listening to the tower. They're watching, listening to us. We're watching our competitors, and I'm going back and watching myself after an event, and I continue to evolve. So, yeah, it's not clear, but I am constantly aware of what I feel like everybody's thinking, and you just can't be too far against the grain, is my opinion.
Any other questions for Ross? We'll wrap up with Dustin, then Bob.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. I've heard people say that whenever a driver makes a move, they're showing, even if it's retaliation or some sort of move toward directed more toward one person, the rest of the garage sees it. The rest of the garage understands it, and maybe that starts to judge how they view that person. I would suspect you probably had to go through some of that process, right or wrong. And when we see something like what the 3-car did, what is do you feel like there's an effect throughout the garage that people start to look at you? Do you feel like people looked at you differently in certain interactions with certain drivers, and that affected or potentially affected some things? Is that something that you had to, I don't want to say come back from, but just something a little bit more that was part of the fallout, I guess, of a situation like that?
I think mine and Austin's are different because he's established and has been in the sport for longer than me. When my stuff, I guess, in Cup got loud, I'll call it, I was still the new guy to being competitive in Cup. And I feel like that the guys that were nice to me in conversation or just passing in the garage, or maybe, in my opinion, just were okay with me being in Xfinity and back of the pack Cup, maybe win a few truck races, win a few Xfinity races, but I was never going to be direct competition. When I became competition, they suddenly had extra reasons to have a problem with me, and that's my opinion, is that they were okay with me when I was just Ross, the watermelon farmer, that they didn't have to worry too much about. And when consistently I was up there, and then I made some mistakes, and they did too, it was easy for them to pile on. So I think Austin's way more established, and obviously, the family history, and he's been raised in this sport, so they knew him long before he drove. I was still the new guy to Cup. It wasn't a clear path for me to get here, so I just feel like we're too different to really compare.
With your position, the points, and look, maybe that changes Sunday. You win, you don't have to worry about it. But 5 of the last 7 Daytona races have been won by drivers who have yet to secure a playoff spot. What are the opportunities? What are the challenges in going into a Daytona without your playoff position being secure?
It's home for me, so this summertime race is just a bright spot in my memories of going over 4th of July weekend, and then being able to win an Xfinity race there in 8 and 19 was just bucket list life achievement. I just remember watching those late Busch Series races back then, and Cup races Saturday night. So I just have those memories. I know right where I sat in the grandstands before Daytona Rising at Pit Out, and I have so many memories of friends and family there, and us camping outside of Turn 1 before it was a nice campground. So, it doesn't make it easier, though. I know the last 2 years going down there, I've just been able to enjoy family and the experience of racing at Daytona. A lot like the 500, where I've learned to just enjoy it for what it is. There's just no way around it. If we leave here and we don't have it secured, then you just have to. It's math. You just have to know that you finish bad, you get less points, and if you finish good in stages in the race, then you get more points. So it's just simple math. So, but really excited about the next 3 and changing some of the stats for who's been winning here at Michigan.
Bob Hawkers, Fox Sports. The simple math says there'll be one more driver in on points than before NASCAR's decision. So were you pleased with NASCAR's decision on Austin?
When I read it, I didn't really have much thoughts on right, we're watching it all unfold. We're listening to people and hearing who's loud and who's the squeaky wheel. It looks like they they got some grease there. So I feel like for me, I don't. I mean, yeah, it affects us. So you look at that and you look at how it resets, and then it's kind of just note it and move on. And there's still an appeal next week, so see how that plays out. But it doesn't change how I drive here because, I mean, just the math says it doesn't really change for us much. We went from all of us, it just slid one spot. So it's just points, and if we gain a handful of points, then we'll be ahead of all of them.
All right. Thank you very much, Ross. Good luck this weekend.